Good morning. Welcome to the grand opening of Heroes and Legends, featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing. My name is John Zarella, and I will be your master of ceremonies. For those of you who don't know me, I spent 32 years at CNN, covering the space program for most of that time. I reported on some 75 launches, including John Glenn's return to space, the Hubble Space Telescope launch and servicing missions, as well as the return to shuttle flight. I'm honored to be here today among so many friends, colleagues, and legendary astronauts. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate the opening of Heroes and Legends, featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing. Attractions that honor the brave men and women who have dared to explore humanity's greatest frontier, space. Very soon, you'll have the opportunity to be among the very first to experience Heroes and Legends and to discover for yourself just what inspired NASA's pioneering astronauts to embark on their journeys into the unknown. But first, I'd like to begin our ceremony this morning with the presentation of the colors by the Merritt Island High School ROTC and the singing of the national anthem by Ms. Carmen Harrell.
Color guard, halt, left, face, colors, salute.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Merritt Island High School ROTC and Ms. Harrell. That was absolutely beautiful. You know, folks, it's no coincidence that we chose to celebrate the grand opening of Heroes and Legends on this day, Veterans Day. Many of our astronaut heroes are also members of the United States Armed Forces. But not only that, they have all served their country as members of NASA's elite astronaut corps, each one willing to undertake extremely dangerous missions to advance scientific study to benefit all of humanity. Today, we are not only honor our astronaut heroes, but all of the military heroes who have served our great country. We are honored to have a representative from each branch of the military here today. Would you please step forward as I call your names? Please hold your applause until I've introduced all 5 representatives. From the United States Army, Colonel Vernon Myers. From the United States Marines, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Wilson Harris. From the United States Navy, Captain Stephen D. Nakagawa. From the United States Air Force, Colonel Brad M. Kreitz. From the United States Coast Guard, Fireman Caden Kidd. Thank you all for your service. Next, I'd like to invite all of those in our audience who have served in the armed forces, whether for the United States or for our allies abroad, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service and for spending Veterans Day at Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex with us. We are fortunate to have many elected officials. We'd like to recognize the Honorable Thad Altman, Florida State Representative, District 52. Thad, if you're here. Thank you, distinguished guests. Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Theron Protze, Chief Operating Officer for Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Theron joined the Visitor Complex in 2014. Prior to taking on the role of COO here, he spent 6 years working for Delaware North at the company's global headquarters in Buffalo, New York, as Vice President of Gaming Operations, and 2 years as President and General Manager of Jumer's Casino and Hotel. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Theron Protze. Theron also served our country for 8 years as a United States Marine, earning the rank of Sergeant. Theron, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, John. And thank you to all of you who joined us here today for a celebration of the grand opening of Heroes and Legends, featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing. First, it goes without saying that we would not be here today if it were not for NASA. Its vision, its tenacity, its commitment to expanding and improving our world. We are fortunate to have many representatives of NASA with us this morning, most notably Kennedy Space Center Director, Mr. Robert Cabana, who is also a United States Astronaut Hall of Fame inductee, so we'll be seeing him here in just a few minutes. And we'll also be hearing from him shortly. On behalf of all the associates at Delaware North and the Jacobs family, I'd like to begin by saying how grateful we are to our partners of NASA for allowing us the privilege of operating Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Thank you for allowing us to tell the NASA story that we're so proud of to millions of guests all over the world. We are truly honored to be the stewards of this treasure that is known as the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. And to join you in unveiling this incredible new attraction today, we have representatives from Delaware North. Please each stand and wave as I call your name. Mr. Rick Abramson, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Delaware North. Also former CEO of Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, so I have huge shoes to fill. Mr. Dennis Effel, Strategic Advisor and former President of Delaware North Parks and Resorts and former Chief Administrative Officer for Delaware North. Mr. Jim Hauser, Group President for Delaware North Sports Service, Delaware North Parks and Resorts, and Delaware North Patina Restaurant Group. And Mr. Tom Barney, our Vice President of Finance for Delaware North Parks and Resorts. Thank you all for being here today. You'll be hearing from Mr. Abramson in just a little bit. By now, you've probably noticed that this great big attraction also has a great big name, Heroes and Legends, featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing. That's because this attraction tells the story of many, many people. Not only the astronaut heroes whose daring missions are brought to life inside these walls, artifacts are brought to life, but also the countless people and companies who worked behind the scenes to enable those missions happen. The Boeing company has been part of America's space story since the very beginning. And the silhouette of the X-15 rocket plane on top of the Heroes and Legends is a visual reminder of the company's past, present, and future contributions to human spaceflight. The X-15 flew for nearly a decade, its technology contributing significantly to the development of the historic Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and Space Shuttle missions. Therefore, it is only fitting that the Boeing Company has joined us as the presenting sponsor of Heroes and Legends, marking the first time in the Visitor Complex history that we have named a corporate sponsor as part of an attraction, and we are proud to share that first with Boeing. Founded in 1916, think about that. Boeing celebrates its 100th anniversary this year. Their centennial motto is that we spent the last 100 years making the impossible possible. Boy, how true is that? And that's really what this attraction is all about. All of the men and women who dreamed about the impossible and made it happen. From all of us at Delaware North, thank you to the Boeing Company for making this attraction possible. We wish you the very best in your next 100 years. Representing Boeing here today is Mr. John Elbon, Vice President and General Manager of the company's Space Exploration Division. Would you please stand, Mr. Elbon? We're also going to hear a little bit from John shortly. Speaking of making this attraction possible, we would have not created it, Heroes and Legends, without our dedicated partners and vendors. And we're fortunate to have them here as well today. Would you all please stand as I recognize you? Our BRPH, our architects and engineers. NTech, our entry ramp fabricators. Electrosonics, our audio-visual technologists and software system designers. Falcon's Treehouse, the attraction designer and executive producer. Guard Lee, our custom fabricators for artifact restoration. Ivy's Construction, our general contractor. Light Switch, our show lighting partners. Phoenix Rising, our screen fabricator, and the Nazo Company, our scenic and exhibit fabricators. Please give them a round of applause. Cannot thank all of you enough for your hard work over the past several months, and by now I'm sure you're more curious to find out what awaits you when you walk up that ramp. I promise you the experience will be very, very soon, but first I'd like to turn the mic over back to our MC, Mr. John Zarella, who will share with you a little background on how this day came about. John.
Thank you, Theron. You guys comfortable up there? You enjoying it? It's like going to a Cubs game and watching the guys, right? Nice. We'll see you in a few. Many of you were here 18 months ago for the groundbreaking of this new attraction. But the story starts long before that day. It's a story that's been at least 30 years in the making. As many of you know, in the mid-1980s, the 6 surviving Mercury astronauts, Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Deke Slayton, Wally Schirra, and Alan Shepard, along with Betty Grissom, the widow of Gus Grissom, created the Mercury 7 Foundation. Their goal was to help university students pursue their dreams in science, math, and technology. That organization is now known as the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. Those same astronauts also conceived of a place where space travelers could be remembered, much like baseball players and other sports figures. Henry Landworth, who had been instrumental in incorporating Mercury 7 Foundation as a nonprofit, teamed up with Ed Buckby, head of the United States Space Camp, as well as Associated Press Bureau Chief Howard Benedict, to bring the idea of the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame to life. In fact, Howard Benedict went on to become executive director of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. In May 1990, the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame opened its doors just 6 miles west of the gates of the Kennedy Space Center. The Mercury 7 astronauts were honored as the first inductees. Today, 93 astronauts have been inducted into the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame from the Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Skylab, and Space Shuttle programs. In September 2002, Delaware North began operating the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame on behalf of NASA's Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. And after a 3-month renovation, we reopened the hall on December 14th of that year. On May 2015, as the Astronaut Hall of Fame celebrated its 25th anniversary, we unveiled a brand new vision for the Hall of Fame here on Visitor Complex property. Today, we are proud to lift the curtain on an inspiring new tribute to America's legendary space explorers. I hope you enjoy this brief preview of our brand new attraction, Heroes and Legends, featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing.
From the beginning of recorded history, man has stood at the edge of his world and looked off into the great unknown. It is at these thresholds where ordinary people can rise up to become heroes, finding the courage within themselves to explore what lies beyond. Heroes and Legends is an immersive storytelling experience about those who first dared to bravely explore humanity's greatest frontier, space. Approaching the facility, the sleek architecture and sweeping ramp simulate the journey to the stars with a slingshot maneuver through the rocket garden. Guests enter what is a hero, a stunning 360-degree discovery bay featuring heroes from all walks of life. Here, guests learn how society defines a hero through powerful symbolic imagery and memorabilia.
A hero is someone I respect, like my mom.
My mom and dad. Spider-Man, Iron Man, Pizza Man.
In the Through the Eyes of a Hero experience, the environment comes alive with vibrant visuals, sounds, and effects that wrap around and below the guests. Here, real astronauts from the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs relive the exhilarating moments from their missions that forever branded them as heroes. Guests experience their heroic journey through the eyes of an astronaut in this one-of-a-kind, omnidirectional experience. In the A Hero Is exhibit hall, guests can explore each astronaut more personally. Memorabilia and artifacts are made especially fascinating through the use of simulated holograms and other ingenious display methods that transport guests back in time to the moment when the artifacts fulfilled their roles in America's early manned space program. The United States Astronaut Hall of Fame features the many human faces of NASA's spacefaring heroes who have been inducted as lasting icons in the NASA story. A special photo opportunity allows guests to capture a lasting memento from their journey, posing with some of the namesake heroes and legends they have explored through this experience. Guests develop a whole new understanding and appreciation for NASA's pioneering astronauts, whose heroic qualities continue to inspire future generations. The stories from these brave explorers ignite the sparks of heroism within us all. Follow in their footsteps and discover why these men chose to launch into the great unknown. Not for themselves, not for their country, but for all of humanity.
Wow. That's incredible. I'm excited. I haven't been in yet. I'm getting ready to go in with all you folks, the first group. I'll be at the front of the line. First, I'd like to recognize some more special guests who are with us today. We've heard many mentions this morning of the Mercury 7 astronauts. I am honored to say that we have with us today two special guests, the wives of late Mercury astronauts Scott Carpenter and Gordon Cooper. Mrs. Patty Carpenter and Mrs. Susie Cooper, ladies, would you please raise your hands? Scott Carpenter and Gordon Cooper were also among the founders of the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame and the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. So we are very grateful to their wives for being a part of this historic day. I'm also pleased to announce that we have a few of the children of our Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo astronauts. As I call your names, would you all please stand and be recognized? Laura Shepard Churchley and Julie Shepard Jenkins, daughters of Alan Shepard. Rick Armstrong, son of Neil Armstrong. Rick. And Janice Aldrin, daughter of Buzz Aldrin. You're here, aren't you, Janice? Rosemary Russa, daughter of Stu Russa. Rosemary. Thank you to each of you for joining us here today as we pay tribute to your husbands and fathers and acknowledge your family's great dedication to our country and our space program. Thank you. Now, folks, as you can tell, the excitement is building. They left the perch up there and they're down there now, so. We're getting closer to unveiling this incredible attraction, but we have a few more important guests to introduce to you this morning. What would an Astronaut Hall of Fame be without astronauts, right? It would be me, that's it, so, with my red jacket. We're very fortunate to have a number of astronauts in attendance today. Those who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame will be joining us in a few moments, but first, I'd like to introduce those who are in our audience. As is tradition, I'll be introducing them in flight order. And since today is Veterans Day, I'll also announce their military rank and branch, if applicable. Astronaut, please stand and wave as I call your name. Mary Cleave. Captain Mike McCulley, U.S. Navy. Mike. Captain Bruce Melnick, United States Coast Guard. Bruce. Joseph Tanner, United States Navy. Joe. Captain Mike Foreman, U.S. Navy. He's doing the astronaut encounters right now, so that's why he's all decked out, right? It's good to be you today, wearing that suit. Thank you each for being here today. Next, the men and women I'm about to introduce are among the 93 courageous space explorers who have been inducted into the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame. To earn this prestigious honor, they were selected by a committee of Hall of Fame astronauts, former NASA officials, historians, and journalists in a process administered by the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. They are all U.S. citizens and are NASA-trained commanders, pilots, or mission specialists who have orbited the Earth at least once. They will be introduced in flight order and once again announcing their military rank, if applicable, and the branch. As each astronaut is introduced, he or she will stand at the entrance of the ramp for a brief photo op. Please hold your applause until after each astronaut has been introduced. He piloted Gemini 7, commanded Gemini 12, orbited the moon in Apollo 8, and commanded the successful failure that was Apollo 13. He celebrated Christmas Eve aboard Apollo 8, captivating TV audiences around the world by reading from the book of Genesis while orbiting the moon. United States Navy Captain James Lovell. He piloted Gemini 6, then commanded Gemini 9 and Apollo 10, for which he is cited in the Guinness Book of World Records for highest speed ever attained by man. He logged his 4th space flight in Apollo, commander of the Apollo-Soyuz test project, culminating in the first meeting in space between Americans and Soviets. Lieutenant General Thomas Stafford, United States Air Force. He first flew in 1966 aboard Gemini 8, then went on to serve as command module pilot for Apollo 9, only the second manned flight of the Saturn V rocket. He made his third flight as spacecraft commander of Apollo 15, setting a new record for lunar surface time. He is only one of 3 astronauts who have flown both Earth orbital and lunar Apollo missions. Colonel David Scott, United States Air Force. His first space flight was aboard Gemini 12, but he is most well known for landing at the Sea of Tranquility alongside Neil Armstrong in 1969 and becoming one of the very first men to walk on the moon. Today, he is the founder of the Share Space Foundation and an active proponent of space exploration. Colonel Buzz Aldrin, U.S. Air Force. He served as lunar module pilot for 11 days aboard Apollo 7, the first manned Apollo mission and the first to provide a live television transmission of onboard crew activities. He later served as NASA's chief of the Skylab branch of the Flight Crew Directorate. Colonel Walter Cunningham, United States Marine Corps. Walt. The command module pilot for Apollo 15 and a 9-year NASA veteran, he logged a 38-minute spacewalk outside the Endeavour command module, the first EVA made from a command module during a trans-Earth coast. He logged a total of 295 hours and 11 minutes in space. From the U.S. Air Force, Colonel Al Worden. He became the 10th person to walk on the moon aboard Apollo 16 in 1972. During 3 outside excursions over 3 days, Duke and fellow astronaut John Young drove a lunar rover 16 miles and collected 213 pounds of lunar rock and soil, and also claimed the record for the longest lunar spacewalk. Brigadier General of the United States Air Force, Charlie Duke. Charlie. He served as a member of the astronaut support crews for Apollo 9, 10, and 13, and then was named pilot for Skylab 3, during which he worked in orbit for 59 days and spent 11 hours on 2 spacewalks outside of the space station. Later, he commanded the 3rd orbital test flight of Space Shuttle Columbia STS-3. Colonel Jack Lausma, United States Marine Corps. Selected as one of NASA's first scientist astronauts in June 1965, he served as the science pilot for Skylab 4. While aboard this orbital space station for a record 84 days, he was the crewman primarily responsible for the 338 hours of Apollo telescope mount operation, making extensive observations of the sun. Dr. Edward Gibson. As the command module pilot on the Apollo-Soyuz test project, he was one of the first U.S. astronauts to meet in space with Russian cosmonauts. He went on to command STS-5, the first fully operational shuttle flight, STS-41B, the first landing here at Kennedy Space Center, and STS-35, the first shuttle mission dedicated to astronomy. U.S. Navy Commissioned Officer Vance Brand. He piloted STS-1 Columbia, the first true manned spaceship and the first manned vehicle to be flown in orbit without benefit of previous unmanned orbital testing. He went on to command 3 more missions, including STS-7, STS-41C, and STS-41G. He later served as director of NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Captain Robert Crippen, United States Navy. He was the commander of one of 2 crews that flew the initial Space Shuttle Enterprise approach and landing test flights. In 1981, he commanded the second orbital test flight of the Space Shuttle Columbia, becoming the first and only pilot to manually fly an aerospace vehicle from Mach 25 to landing. He later served as commander of Shuttle Flight 51I, Major General Joe Engle, United States Air Force. Joe? During his 19 years with the astronaut program, he logged more than 386 hours in space and flew on 3 shuttle missions. He served as pilot during the maiden voyage of Shuttle Challenger aboard STS-6, as commander of STS-51D, and as commander of STS-51J, the first flight of Space Shuttle Atlantis. Colonel Carol Bo Bobko, United States Air Force. A veteran of 3 space flights, he was on the first crew to fly an orbiter in close proximity to a free-flying satellite on STS-7. He then commanded STS-51A as well as STS-26, which marked the Space Shuttle's return to flight following the Challenger tragedy. Navy Captain Rick Howe. Rick? A veteran of 4 Space Shuttle missions, he piloted STS-8, the first mission with a night launch and landing. He spent 261 hours in space during STS-32, the longest shuttle mission to date, and later commanded STS-49, the maiden flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour. Navy Captain Dan Brandenstein. Dan. Logging more than 500 hours in space, he piloted STS-9 and later commanded STS-61B and STS-28. He also played a key role in returning the shuttle to flight following the Challenger tragedy, leading the Space Shuttle Orbiter Return to Flight team. U.S. Air Force Colonel Brewster Shaw. This astronaut, a veteran of 5 Space Shuttle flights, served as pilot for STS-41B, which culminated in the first landing on Kennedy Space Center's runway. He then commanded STS-61C, STS-27, STS-47, and STS-71, the first Space Shuttle mission to dock with the Russian space station Mir. Navy Captain Robert Hoot Gibson. She is a veteran of 3 Space Shuttle missions, including the first 2 flights of the Space Lab Life Sciences payload that expanded our understanding of space and life sciences. On her 3rd mission, she served as payload commander on STS-58, the second flight of Space Lab, and ultimately logged more than 722 hours in space. Dr. Ray Seddon. Ray? He is a veteran of 3 Space Shuttle missions, logging more than 455 hours in space. He served as pilot on STS-51B Space Lab and was the spacecraft commander on STS-33 and STS-44. He later served in several roles at NASA headquarters, including 3 years as NASA's Deputy Administrator. Colonel Fred Gregory, United States Air Force. A joint record holder for most space flights. He has 7 flights under his belt. He has conducted 9 spacewalks, placing him among the world's most experienced spacewalkers, and spent much of this time working on the International Space Station. 5 of his 7 flights were flown on our very own Space Shuttle Atlantis. Colonel Jerry Ross, U.S. Air Force. She has logged more than 975 hours in space, including more than 21 hours of extravehicular activity. She flew 4 Space Shuttle missions, including STS-49, the maiden flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour. Dr. Catherine Thornton. He is a veteran of 4 space flights and has logged 38 days in space. He piloted STS-41, STS-53, and served as commander of 65 and STS-88. During STS-65, he and his crew set a record for the longest space shuttle mission at the time. He is currently the center director here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, United States Marine Corps Colonel Robert Cabana. He served on 4 space shuttle flights, twice as pilot and twice as commander. During his final mission on STS-92 in 2000, he and his crew attached key hardware to the International Space Station, opening the door for future assembly missions and preparing the station for its first resident crew. Colonel Brian Duffy, U.S. Air Force. Brian? He is a veteran of 6 space flights, during which he logged more than 1,380 hours, 57 days in space. He served as pilot for STS-47, STS-66, and STS-77. He served as commander aboard STS-85, 95, and 103, the latter 2 of which involved service and upgrades to the Hubble Space Telescope. Colonel Kurt Brown, United States Air Force. He spent more than 1,600 hours in space on his 5 space shuttle missions. He commanded the first shuttle docking to the fledgling International Space Station on STS-96 and led the 7-person STS-100 crew on a mission to install the station's Canadarm. Navy Captain Kent Rominger. Kent? Ladies and gentlemen, our United States Hall of Fame astronauts. Now to say a few words, Mr. Rick Abramson, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Delaware North. Rick?
Thanks, John. Good morning, and I know you're all warm there, so I'll go fast. But I'd be remiss if I didn't also start by recognizing the veterans and saluting the veterans and thanking all you veterans for your service for our country. And that can't be said enough, and it should only be said one day a year. It's be said every day of the year. I'm also going to go off script for one time. I'm wearing this pin that was given to me, and these guys are all sort of my friends, and we've known each other, but there's a piece of me that's not here because Gene Cerna's not with us today, and Gene's not doing well, and our thoughts and prayers are with the last man on the moon, Gene Cerna. Gino, we're here for you. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. And as he said, one more time, I'll tell you, I'm Rick Abramson. I'm the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Delaware North. Our company has looked forward to this ribbon-cutting ceremony ever since we first announced Heroes and Legends and the Astronaut Hall of Fame projects, which, by the way, Jim and I have worked on this for 15 years. I want to first thank NASA, and without NASA, we wouldn't be here, and for their tremendous partnership with Delaware North. You are unbelievable. The Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex is really a major, major point of pride for Delaware North. It's a great compliment that we've been entrusted in the stewardship of these hallowed grounds. The Heroes and Legends attraction will provide an entryway befitting the bold, revolutionary, and heroic people that defined the United States space program. From astronauts and program directors to engineers and center directors, these men and women have done things that no one else thought was possible. And doing so, they've inspired the next generation. and I see some of you sitting out there today, who will shape the future of our country and really the future of our world. We want every child who walks through the center gates to be inspired and awestruck by everything you see. That's why we worked with NASA and the Boeing Company, thank you, to build this exhibit. I'd like to recognize a partner, a friend, and a true inspiration for all of us here. Center Director Bob Cabana, as well as the Delaware North team led by Theron Proxy, made this happen with a lot of support and help from all of you. Both of you guys, your direction and vision has helped make this center a premier destination, not only in the state of Florida, not only in the United States, but worldwide. I am oh so proud, and I still get emotional of my past being the president and COO of the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. I hold this complex, these people, my friends in this area, in a very big part of my heart. I remember when I first came down here, I was completely overwhelmed. And I thought, it seemed impossible for Delaware North to operate a site of this magnitude with such historic significance and importance. You have to remember at that time, people really related to us as a hot dog concessions company from Buffalo. But at our core, always has and always will be, is the business of making unforgettable memories and experiences for our guests. We've combined that heritage and skill set with NASA's incredible vision, and today we're incredibly proud of what we've accomplished. Today, the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex is much more than a cultural attraction. It's a dynamic hub of exploration and innovation. We look forward to continuing the development of this complex, and we hope that you'll enjoy the Heroes and Legends and the Astronaut Hall of Fame. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Abramson. Our next speaker was introduced a few moments ago. He is a Hall of Fame astronaut and the chairman of the board of the Astronaut Hall of Fame. He is a 4-time Space Shuttle veteran, Dan Brandenstein. Dan?
Well, thank you, John, and what a great day for a celebration. We're really glad you could all come, and glad I'm here too. It's an honor to be here today representing the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. This is a proud day for all of us at ASF as we celebrate the new home of the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame. As John mentioned earlier, it was the 6 surviving Mercury astronauts who first conceived a place where space explorers would be remembered. I am deeply honored to represent them today and can only imagine how proud and humbled they would have been, not only to see themselves immortalized on this wall, but to see the legacy of spaceflight that they all created. I'm certain that the Heroes and Legends featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by the Boeing Company, far surpasses anything that they would have imagined. We're also happy today that some of the wives, children, and grandchildren were introduced earlier of the early legends are here today. This makes the celebration even more special. Thank you all very much for being here with us. And this attraction is not the only legacy of America's first astronauts. They also formed the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation to ensure that America's youth would continue to pursue careers in science, mathematics, technology, and engineering. I'm proud to report that the vision is also being honored today. To date, the ASF, Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, has offered more than $4 million worth of scholarships, merit-based scholarships, to over 430 brilliant students in America. And they are really great scholars. If you ever get a chance to meet them, they'll blow your mind. Bruce and I were talking earlier today that we sure glad we got selected to be astronauts when we did, because competing with the kids today, we wouldn't have had a chance. Today, the astronauts from Gemini, Apollo, Space Lab, and space shuttle programs also have joined to the mission of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. I would personally like to thank all of the astronauts and their families for being here today, and thank our friends at NASA, at Delaware North, at the Boeing Company, and all of you for joining us for this celebration. Thank you very much, and enjoy the new attraction.
Thank you, Dan, for those inspiring words. We greatly appreciate it. You also met our next speaker. And I have to tell you before I get to this that today I had to find a tie that would go with this red jacket, right? So I'm looking for a space tie. I had one from the Ulysses mission. So I'm thinking, that's really cool. I've got this tie. And then our next speaker, Mr. Cabana, walks up, comments on my jacket. I tell him about my tie, and he goes, oh, you know what? That was my first flight. I flew the Ulysses mission. I'm like, great, thanks. So now you know. Our next speaker is the current director of the Kennedy Space Center and 4-time Space Shuttle veteran and Hall of Fame astronaut, Mr. Robert Cabana. Bob?
Thanks, John. Hey, good morning, and welcome to the Kennedy Space Center, America's premier spaceport and launch point on NASA's journey to Mars. I'm telling you, we have a robust and vibrant space program here in America, and the Kennedy Space Center is leading the way. We're enabling commercial operations in low Earth orbit. We're building commercial spacecraft to once again take Americans to the International Space Station on a U.S. rocket launched from right here at the Cape. We are preparing the ground infrastructure to support NASA's SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft that will once again allow us to go beyond Earth, to go deeper into space than we've ever gone before. But none of that would have been possible were it not for the space pioneers, the giants whose shoulders we stand on, who are recognized here in Heroes and Legends. I was only 8 years old when Sputnik orbited the Earth. We didn't have astronauts, but I wanted to fly jets. I wanted to fly. When I got to the Naval Academy, I had the opportunity to come down here to the Cape to see one of my heroes, Naval Academy graduate Jim Lovell, launch and command Apollo 13. And that's when I realized that, you know, there's something more. I can go even further if I apply myself and work hard and do well. That's the inspiration that these guys down here gave me. And I hope that all of you, when you get in to see Heroes and Legends, you're inspired also, that the children today can see that there's so much more that they can reach for if they apply themselves and do well. I want to personally thank Theron Protze in Delaware North and the Boeing Company. Boeing is a great partner on our commercial crew program with the Starliner CST-100 spacecraft and on the SLS rocket that's going to allow us to go to Mars one day. Both of these companies made this possible. And I think you guys are all in for a real treat when you get to see it. So enjoy the day. It's absolutely perfect. This is an awesome exhibit, and thanks to everybody that made it possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabana. Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Vice President and General Manager of Boeing Space Exploration, Mr. John Elbon. John?
Thank you, John. Wow, what a day. It's a beautiful day, a beautiful venue, beautiful collection of heroes. I have one suggestion for y'all. Watch some NBA games and look at how they enter and do their little dances and throw chalk in the air. Get a little excitement in your entrance. Hey, I'm honored on behalf of the entire Boeing Company to be here today. We're excited to partner with the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex on this Heroes and Legends attraction. I also offer my thanks to the veterans in the audience and on the telecast. Without your sacrifices, we wouldn't have the great country we have that allows us to have the space program that we have. So thank you very much. Thank you, Rick and Theron, for allowing us to be a part of this amazing addition to the center. You're helping pave the way, keeping this a must-visit destination on the Space Coast, and so thank you for allowing us to be a part of that. I think it's appropriate going into our next 100 years as a company, and by the way, this is Delaware North's next 100 years as well. But as we go through that, we need to take time to look ahead to the next 100 years, but also to look back at the heroes that got us to this point. I'd like to think of that as a spectrum, I think, today. We have some Apollo heroes here like Jim Lovell, Tom Stafford, Dave Hurt, Al Worden, Buzz Aldrin, Walt Cunningham, Charlie Duke. I noticed as I was sitting up here, this little fella over here with his orange jumpsuit on. I'm guessing he's 10 or 12 years old. 8. He's 8. Perfect. When I was 8 years old, I skipped school so I could stay home and watch you guys do the Apollo missions. And that was an incredible inspiration to me. And so thank you for inspiring a whole generation of people to study math and science, to work on the space program, and to get us where we are today. Our industry stands on your shoulders. Thank you very much. And then I think at the other end of the spectrum, Chris Ferguson works for the Boeing Company now. Chris commanded the last flight of the space shuttle, the last time humans were launched from American soil. At T0, Chris hit the button on his watch and started an MET clock counting. And unfortunately, that clock ran so long that it's surpassed its capacity to keep ticking on his watch. And that's a real comment about why it's important for us to look forward and keep moving and to start the next part of what we're doing. I'm happy to say that that long pause is coming to an end soon. I hope we'll see this same crowd gathered here again in 2018 when we're here to celebrate the first commercial crew launch of the Starliner. The return of launch to America, that will be a historic and exciting day for the space business, but more importantly, for the nation. 100 years ago, we never could have imagined the commercial aviation industry we have today. What began as government airmail contract has flourished into an industry that supports 87,000 flights that crisscross the U.S. every day. So what about the next 100 years? It's tough to imagine the specifics, but here are a few possibilities. I think in the near future, we'll see NASA sending humans onto Mars and getting them back home safely. Perhaps beyond that, we'll see a regular service of the systems derived from SLS and Orion, transporting everyday people like you and me back and forth to the Red Planet. Maybe an orbiting hotel around the moon is the next great vacation destination. Quite possibly, we'll see the cure for cancer, cure for some other devastating diseases that come from research that our astronauts conduct on the International Space Station. It's likely in the future we'll even discover life on other planets. It's exciting to think about the endless possibilities in our future. That's thanks to the heroes and the legends that we honor here at this incredible attraction. To those heroes, thank you for your service, and to those who might be the next generation of heroes, maybe only 8 today, and legends of tomorrow, keep your eyes to the sky, keep dreaming big. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Elbon. It's Mr. Elbon of the Boeing Company. Yeah, I'll trade you that orange jumpsuit for the red jacket. What do you think? Come on. No? Won't fit me. You got that right. I do like the blue jackets these guys are all decked out in, though, don't you? Nice. Okay. Now, earlier this morning, you got to see some of America's most legendary astronauts walk down the ramp. But I'm thinking it's a shame to have this many legendary astronauts in one place at one time and not be able to hear from them. Right, folks? Don't you agree? Okay. So, not that any of this is scripted. Uh-huh. I won't go there. I'm thinking. We'd like to hear from some of the Gemini and Apollo astronauts that we have with us. Let's see. Who do we have here? Jim Lovell and Tom Stafford. Gentlemen, get you to stand up. Now, both of you play a significant role in the new Heroes and Legends. Jim, you have a speaking role in one of the attraction's films. And Tom, your Gemini 9 capsule is one of the key artifacts on display. And you also share the recollections of the Apollo-Soyuz test project in one of the exhibit areas. And of course, you are both immortalized in the Hall of Fame portion of the exhibit. How does it feel to be seen as one of America's heroes? Jim?
Well, that's kind of funny, John. I don't consider myself a hero like, say, Charles Lindbergh. I'm not in his category. I just did what I thought was proper and exciting and something for the country and to my family. You know, I guess I'm just a lucky guy.
Yeah, lucky. And 13's his lucky number, right? Tom, same question to you.
Well, again, Jim, it was just a tour of duty, a great tour of duty. I was very honored to be selected in the second group of astronauts that was there to do the Gemini and the Apollo missions. And I was very fortunate to be from the first to the last, be on the backup crew of the first Gemini mission and flew the last Apollo, the Apollo-Soyuz, which was really a turning point in the program. First ever International Space Station, first international cooperation with then the Soviet Union, helped open the Iron Curtain, and it set the baseline for the shuttle Mir, the International Space Station today, where we have 15 countries working together. So it was great. Thank you.
Tom, thank you so much. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Let's see who else we can find. Okay, well, here's Buzz Aldrin and Walt Cunningham. Gentlemen, can I get you to stand up? I like your red, white, and blue socks, too, Buzz. Very nice. You folks got to get a look at those socks when you get a chance. Those are outstanding. So, here's the question. Two outstanding Gemini Apollo astronauts, and of course, members of the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame. Guys, I have a tough question for you. Inside Heroes and Legends are displayed 9 characteristics that define a hero. Inspired, passionate, curious, tenacious, disciplined, confident, courageous, principled, and selfless. Would you say you are all those things?
A little bit.
Modesty. You're too modest. The rest of us know better. Seriously now. Okay. Buzz, you first.
Tenacious innovation. You didn't have that down there, did you?
I don't think so. We can add it if you like. That's it, tenacious innovation. Good.
It is absolutely essential to innovate, do things better.
Well, I would have to say I don't think any of those words describe exactly our role, because in those days, which I call the good old days, we all thought about one thing. You don't get any place in life unless you're willing to stick your neck out a little. And that's what we were willing to do.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys are the best. Much appreciated. And again, check out those socks when you get a chance. They're better than my red jacket. Okay, we have a few more minutes to visit with our astronauts. Let's see, who should we talk to next? How about Al Warden and Charlie Duke? Gentlemen. All right, guys, thanks for being here. In a few minutes, we're going to let all these fine people into Heroes and Legends, and I'm sure they're ready. It's getting warm out here, and we've been going on and on. You've had the privilege of seeing it already. What do you hope that all of our guests will learn from this beautiful new attraction? What message do you think is most important for them to remember? Al?
John, I really have this feeling that we've got so much on display here. We've got a Saturn V Center down by the launch pad. We've got an Atlanta Center here. There are artifacts and relics here that I think people 1,000 years from now are going to be happy to see, and they're going to think back on the wonderful days that we've had here. And I guess in that same vein, that makes me a relic too.
Charlie, what do you want the guests to take from this attraction? No, wait a minute, I don't mean literally. So don't go in there and try to steal anything, okay? It's all locked down anyway. So, I mean, what do you want them to take from this mentally?
Well, I think it's important as you tour this exhibit to remember all of the dedication and the hard work that it took for those of us that were involved in the astronaut program, but also the support that we received from Kennedy and all the other contractors that were involved in Apollo. 400,000 people made it possible for 24 of us to go to the moon. And so as you look around, just remember, behind all of those up there, there's a lot of support. And so dream big, aim high as you go through, and hopefully it'll be an inspiration to you and your grandkids and your kids.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much for taking time and spending it with us. Let's give a round of applause for our Gemini and Apollo astronauts, Jim Lovell, Tom Stafford, Buzz Aldrin, Walt Cunningham, Al Worden, and Charlie Duke. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for your time. All right, now I have to see if I can find the place where we're going here next. Okay. Folks, we've had an incredible morning so far, and it's only going to get more exciting. I'd like to thank all of our special guests and speakers this morning. Thank you to our military representatives and all the veterans here today. Thank you to our representatives from NASA, Kennedy Space Center, Delaware North, the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, the Boeing Company, all the vendors who worked hard here on Heroes and Legends, and of course, to all of our astronauts and their families for taking the time to celebrate with us today. Finally, thank you to all of our guests who have joined us from all over the world. You picked a great day to come to Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Every day is a great day here, but this one, folks, is really special. First now, as is tradition at the Visitor Complex when we open a new attraction, we must first have a countdown and a ribbon cutting. Here to help us today, and gentlemen, would you please make your way to the front of the stage, we have Director of the Kennedy Space Center, Bob Cabana, President and General Manager of Space Exploration for the Boeing Company, John Elbon, Delaware North Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Rick Abramson, Group President for Delaware North Sports Service, Delaware North Parks and Resorts, and Delaware North Patina Restaurant Group, Mr. Jim Hauser, and Chief Operating Officer for Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, Theron Protze. Also joining them are the Hall of Fame astronauts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a great photo opportunity for you, but we ask that you remain seated during the ribbon cutting so that everyone can see. Ribbon cutters, please hold your pose for a few seconds so everyone can get a photo. Now, would you please join me in counting down to the ribbon cutting and the grand opening of Heroes and Legends featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame presented by Boeing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Heroes and Legends featuring the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, presented by Boeing, is now open. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Have a wonderful day here. Thanks, buddy boy. Always fun. Your buddy's coming, right? The guy that you did the book with.